Our objective is to put out a good product so that you can be proud, and we represent Des Moines, and we represent who you are as people and what Iowa is.
This is the Hometown Hoops Podcast with Drake Men's Basketball and your host, Michael Admire.
It is the Hometown Hoops Podcast. My name is Michael Admire. Thanks for joining us here on a Friday at noon following another Drake win. Dogs 9-0 on the season, a 90-35 win over St. Ambrose. 5 Bulldogs in double figures. Tavion Banks pacing all of them, coming off the bench with his 15 points. The Hometown Hoops Podcast is here on the Drake Sports Media Podcast Network, which is powered by Learfield. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, whether it's on the free Varsity Network app, where you can just pull us up through the podcast traditional format, or you can stream it here live on the Drake Athletics YouTube and Facebook pages. And today we got a fun episode. A couple years ago, we used to do the coaches show. It was, every Monday, went out to rookies, a half hour to an hour on 102 on FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines. And since we've gone away from that, we want to make sure we bring in the head coaches a couple times throughout the season. And that's what we're going to do here today. Have a little expanded conversation with the head coach, Ben McCollum. And he joins us now. And Coach Mac, now that we got you all warmed up with all the radio reads, we're ready to rock on this. All right. So last night, let's just start there. A dominating win over St. Ambrose. You got the non-D1 game right in the midst of finals week. A good way to kind of knock off the rust from finals week. And also it's a nice game to have sandwiched between a Valley game on the road plus that K-State game in Kansas City. What do you feel you guys most took away from the game last night?
Yeah, we started doing this not at this time, but a little bit different time at Division II, where we have a 6-day break over Christmas. And one year we gave them that 6-day break, and we came back and we lost our first conference game out of break. And we realized that it was the rhythm of a real game, regardless of who you play, but just with the crowd, the rhythm, the flow, etc. So I thought at this level, because you don't have that mandatory Christmas break, this was probably the best opportunity to do that rhythm game, which is during finals, just because finals are obviously very difficult, high academic school. And so we wanted to make sure that they were able to focus on what they needed to focus on academically, and then still be able to get a little bit of rhythm for the Kansas State game. What we got out of it, I thought we were able to play a lot of guys, which really helps. I thought we were able to kind of work out some of the finals week and take it out on St. Ambrose, I guess. And then, just get a flow. We didn't run anything offensively necessarily. We just ran our normal flow, which is the play after the play essentially. And then defensively, we got to guard actions that we will see a lot of movement. Obviously they didn't make as many shots as some teams will, but they did get shots, and we got some good film to be able to show our guys on that.
And now move to 9-0 on the season. I think it's telling about your team. You all, I don't want to say expected this, but it has not come as a surprise. In fact, I heard a story on the side about one of your players basically calling the shot that you guys would be unbeaten heading into this K-State game. And this was before the season got started. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely been that confidence within this program from day one. How rewarding has it been to see these guys come together and be off to the start that they are already in the national conversation?
I think it's rewarding to the guys because they see the results of their work, meaning we do focus so much on the process. For me, the results, again, take care of themselves, but for 18 to 23, 24-year-olds, it's important that they, on occasion, see results. And and they've seen the results of their work. They've seen the results of how difficult our summer was, how difficult the fall is, how difficult it is to build an entire roster, and they obviously won a few games with that. Some of the guys that we brought with are used to winning, and what we always say is, I know people kind of make fun of it, but winners just kind of find ways to win. Like, it's just, I don't know how to explain it. We try to recruit as many state champions as we can, or guys that performed at a high level, because there's something about winners that they just continue to do it, and they expect it, and they do the little things to be able to win games. And so, we're pleased with the results right now. We need to continue to grow and get better and kind of fix some of the things that we've had issues with in some of those wins.
Here on this kind of expanded podcast platform, we've talked about all these things on the radio, in pregame, postgame. You talk about it at the podium, but on this podcast platform, we can kind of dive into that stuff a little bit more. And I would love to go back to just maybe your roots and where basketball came into your life, and then maybe work our way into how you develop some of these process-oriented mindsets. And so I guess let's go all the way back. You born in Iowa City.
Mm-hmm.
What was the childhood like for Ben McCollum growing up in Iowa?
It was a great childhood. Just like, I think you look back and it worked out the way it was supposed to. I was born in Iowa City, and then I don't know exactly the age, but parents ended up getting a divorce, and then my mother, brother, and myself moved to Storm Lake, Iowa at that point. And I think it was really young. I was super competitive. I was probably the kid that lost his temper all the time, and probably no one wanted on their team because he was going to lose his mind if they lost. So eventually I learned how to harness that and just create a competitive drive for that. And then basketball just happened to be the sport that I fell in love with. I think it was enough activity, enough physicality, competitiveness. And so I'd be in the gym every single day, 7 days a week, 2 at least hours. And it was over the top to where I just worked at it. And then eventually was able to go to college and play college basketball. But, I just loved it from a young age. It's more the competitiveness of it than anything else. I loved what it brought out in myself and the people around me.
You mentioned kind of harnessed some of that, energy and put it into the sport, or I guess, how did you corral that energy you were talking about?
A lot of help from a lot of people. I think what I've always seen with people that have success in anything, there's a level of adversity that they have when they're younger, and there's things that they have to work through that teach them how to work through it later in life. But it's fortunately in kind of a controlled environment through elementary school, through high school, and et cetera. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of, first off, a great mother, and then have a lot of high school, grade school coaches that were very, very, very patient with me, because I was competitive and we were good. And I felt like I was pretty good at a young age. But sometimes that temper or competitiveness can get in your way if you're not able to do that. But then you have enough people in your life that are patient enough with you that allow you to work through some of those things that eventually now you can, John Thompson, I heard a quote once, you can tame a fool a lot quicker than you can resurrect a corpse, and essentially tamed a fool. I don't know if I was a fool, but I was that kid. And I was fortunate enough to have a lot of adults in my life, a lot of youth coaches, a lot of high school coaches that helped me get through some of those things, and then eventually work my way to where I'm at now.
You had some, I don't know if authoritarians is the right word to use, but I mean, your mom was a judge, mm-hmm. So she has a little bit of disciplinarian in her, I assume. Yeah, what was it like growing up in a household where your mom is a judge?
Yeah, mom's a judge, and my stepdad was he was DCI, and then it was an ARC for a little bit, and so he was essentially a cop. And so it's funny though, because judges are a little bit, they see a little more gray,
Yeah.
because you can manipulate the rules a little bit, manipulate the laws essentially. And so she was a little more understanding, but my stepdad was a little more, saw the black and white, like it's either yes or no. And so it was great. I think it helped me, learn both perspectives, and helped with that discipline piece of it. And obviously, they never allowed any of us, my brother and my sister, to, I don't know, essentially feel bad for ourselves. It was always, okay, so let's own this problem, and now what's your solution to the problem, and now go fix it. And that was always, anytime you'd come home and you'd complain or whine about something, it'd always be, okay, well, what are you going to do to fix it? It's not, okay, well, the problem's there. Let's address it, and now let's go solve this problem. And so that's helped me in coaching, because it's kind of that next play mentality. And obviously both of them have really been a big influence in me.
Your mom, Mary Timko, she seems fiery. She seems awesome. I ran into her in the hotel lobby prior to the championship game in Charleston, and it's a late game, 8 o'clock, and her and your wife are walking by, and she just like flatline looks at me and says, "We're about to go impose our will on an espresso." And I was like, I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
Does that sound about right?
That sounds like, yeah, she's got a little energy. And then her and my wife together, when they get going, it's always the running joke that who's babysitting Grandma Mary. And so it was my wife's responsibility down in Charleston now. And so, yeah, she's obviously fiery. She's elitely competitive. She knows absolutely nothing about basketball. She claims that she does, but she knows nothing about basketball. She knows who wins and loses. Yeah. So that's about it. But yeah, her, my wife, and Grace will attend a lot of those games together. It's always fun watching them and their interactions. And my wife is elitely competitive as well, probably just not as fiery as my mom is.
Yeah, you have some pretty strong women in your life, because Grace she goes toe to toe with them, right?
Yeah, that's the funny part is, and then my grandma on top of it. So grandma, mom, and wife, and then obviously Grace. Whenever we had a compliance officer at Northwest Missouri State, and we had female bosses and whatnot. And I said, hey, I actually appreciate strong women. That's actually what I'm better at managing. So if you want to come at me, that doesn't bother me whatsoever, because my wife is obviously very strong, very educated, very smart, and tough. And then my mom, same thing, grandma, and then now Grace, she's just runs the show. So she is the boss at the end of the day.
Yeah, the daughter is a little bit different managerial style, I guess, if you will, other than being along with wife and mom, I imagine.
Oh yeah, and that's what I've grown to appreciate is strong, independent women. It's just, that's obviously with my stepdad and then my mom, that's what I was raised by, and then that's what I married, and my grandma was the same way, and then obviously hopefully my daughter will be that kind of strong, independent female that can do big things.
Yeah, I read in a couple different stories just how impactful you growing up for a time period in a single mother home. How much did that form who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot. I think what it does is there's a level of adversity that occurs through that. Where when you're a young kid and that happens, you have to fight a little bit more, and you have to, I don't know if it's not raise yourself, because you're not raising yourself. You have to do a few more things on your own to where you're not going to be enabled. You're not going to be spoiled. It's just, it is what it is, and you're going to be raised well. And I'm actually very thankful that some of those things happened because I was able to, in a controlled environment, have some adversity that I didn't necessarily like at the time. But now you look back and it's like, well, that allows me to handle some of the things that go on now. That allows me to focus on that next play as long as you work through it. And it's not like it's something that's earth-shattering that happens to, it's happened to millions of people, obviously, but so it's not like the end of the world necessarily. Other people go through a lot worse things than that, but that adversity does help as long as you work yourself through it.
Yeah. And your mom meets Roger, who you refer to, your stepdad, who served in law enforcement in the state of Iowa for several decades, in the DCI, narcotics. I think I read something like 2,200 felony arrests in his time.
So, yeah.
I mean, what role did Roger have in your upbringing and being formative for you?
Yeah, I think anytime from a stepdad perspective is always very, very difficult, especially coming in, and especially with the way me and my brother would have been at the time. I can remember the first time he took me to play tennis, and he whooped me in tennis, and I think we got about halfway through the last game. I think I slammed my racket, got on my bike, and drove home and didn't say a word. And he just was there, just like, what happened? And so, but he did a great job of being patient with us, me and my brother, just kind of working through those problems, not overstepping, but making sure that that we understood that he loved us and that he was going to be a part of our lives, and he wasn't just there for my mom. And he's, I think obviously he didn't get to see us take over at Drake, but for him, he was always extremely proud of what we did and what we became, and he was a big part of that for me, my brother, and my sister, yeah, I mean, it's just those, and so from a world perspective, I think from a youth coach perspective, we talked about that, and I think from a stepfather perspective, the difference that you can make on somebody's life, and if you handle it the right way, and understand that, and he always understood. This is kind of the beauty of him. He always understood that he didn't do things for my brother, myself, my sister, for anything, any gratitude whatsoever. It was always just for us. He didn't want anything in return. And I think that's what parents need to always understand. And he had a great sense of that, which obviously helped us become the people we are.
Yeah, that's something I was going to ask next, is just, now that you're a father and you've got, two boys in high school, both are in high school, right?
Yep.
Yeah, both your boys are in high school. Grace a little bit younger. How would you describe your parenting style?
Oh boy. With Grace, it's just let her do whatever she wants. No, no, I'm just kidding. But no, I think my wife, because of during the season, she does a lot of just getting kids from place to place, and then in the off season, then I'm a bigger part. So we try to make sure that we're at as many things as we can possibly be at. We're as active as we can possibly be. I think once they get to high school, it's a little more difficult because you're trying to ask them questions, and it's more just yes, no, yes, no. So you have to ask the right question. But parenting style wise, I think for both of us, we try to allow them to work through some of their problems on their own, and just try to give them as much guidance with that as we can possibly give. That's hard to do though, because you want to solve the problems for your kids, and we've tried to do our best with that. We also try to really emphasize making sure that they understand that it's more about serving others and making others people's lives better because you're in them. And I think my wife does a great job of that, and obviously I try to make sure that I do a great job of hey, you're here to serve others. Like, it's not about what you receive, it's about what you give. And I think our kids have a great perspective with that, and I think they do serve others. I think they're good leaders, and I think that obviously they're good athletes as well, which is helpful.
There's a thread there because some of the things you were saying there about your parenting relates to how you coach. And so I was wondering how your kids receive some of the, do you talk to them about being process oriented and day to day, and how do they receive that?
It depends. My wife's probably a little more patient with my boys, and I'm probably a little more patient with my daughter. And I'm naturally really, really competitive. And so you have to, it's really tricky because it's the process of wanting them to play hard and compete and be a good teammate and that sort of thing. So you get done with a game and you have to be careful that your competitiveness doesn't overwhelm them. And that would be the only thing that is the hardest part of parenting for me, is just like, okay, you get done with the game, like we need to not talk about it. Now, if they don't compete, we're going to talk about it. Like if they don't play hard, then we're going to talk about it. But it's kind of opposite with my daughter and my wife. She'll get done with theirs, and it's like she's a little less patient with my daughter in regards to that stuff. And I think it's probably just the female and male thing more than anything else. But yeah, it's process. It's the daily tasks. It's making sure that you're getting better. And I think my wife does a great job of that, particularly with their academics. Unfortunately, my kids are a lot smarter than me, so they won't go into college coaching. But no, we love raising them together. It is a struggle sometimes, a struggle to move. But I always say this, that strong marriage, going through a variety of things that we've gone through, and then staying connected and staying loyal to each other, that's the best way to parent your kids, is to have a good marriage. And I think my wife and I have a really good marriage, and some days are harder than others, but we work on it, and I think that helps the parenting piece of it.
Well, it's been great getting to see your family down in Charleston and at games, and I know that'll only continue to grow over the next couple of years, and hopefully they are feeling right at home here in Des Moines. Your wife, is she originally from Iowa?
Yeah, she's from Albert City,
okay,
which is just outside of Storm Lake. So I think she has a Storm Lake address, but she was Albert City Truesdale Hurricanes. So
okay,
she was actually in our conference. She was a player herself now.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
She was a 3-sport athlete, I believe. So it'd been softball, volleyball, basketball.
Dang.
Yeah, she was an all-conference. She was a good player.
So that's where the boys get their
100%. They get it all from her. Yeah, 100%.
That's great. That's great. I was reading that you have your hashtags, culture wins, the impose your will, and I say hashtags, but those are the philosophies and the teachings that you take onto the basketball court. And saw that the impose your will mentality came from a book called The Art of War. Mm-hmm. Where have you kind of gathered all of this, mindset, coaching philosophy? Is it straight from reading experiences? Yeah. Kind of what stands out to you?
Yeah, not a lot stands out. And when I was young, I would work. Like I would commit everything to basketball. And so whether it's, and again, when I say I would not miss a day in the gym, I would not miss a day in the gym. I mean, there would be, and hopefully I don't get in trouble for this, but I remember the janitor, we had a really cool janitor at Storm Lake St. Mary's, and some days the gym would be locked, so I'd have to find a way to sneak in. And so there's always a window that I'd have to climb up the dumpster, open the window, and jump through. And so I'd get in. And one day the janitor walked in and he said, "How did you get in?" And I said, "Oh, there's a door open." And he kind of looks at me funny. And so the next day it happened to be locked. And so I couldn't get in the gym. So I had to find a different gym to go to. But after that, I think he figured out which window it was that I was getting in, because it was almost like he paid attention. So after that, he'd leave that same window unlocked every time, and he'd walk in and he'd ask me every day, "How'd you get in?" I said, it was a door was open or whatever. And so I think that work ethic started there. Once I went to junior college, throughout high school, we'd always lose to the same team, and I'm not even going to say their name, but we'd always lose to the same team. We'd finish second place, and I always thought that we were really close to finishing first, and I always wanted to finish first. And then went junior college, and same concept. We would be close, but not good enough. And I always thought that the difference, the gap between first and second was really close. I went to Northwest Missouri State and played for a guy named Steve Tapmeyer, who's probably the best coach that I've ever been around from a culture building perspective. And I realized how much different that mindset and that culture was, and how consistent they were, and how every single day was their best day, and every single day was Coach Tapmeyer's best day. And so I just became fascinated with that. Didn't play as much as I liked, which actually probably helped me, because that was probably another one of those adversity things that probably benefits you in the moment. It didn't feel very good. But now looking back, it's exactly what I needed to have happen. And I just kind of got fascinated with that. Graduated with a finance degree, went to work for Wells Fargo for just a little bit, and then realized I want to make a difference on people's lives. And so developed my philosophy throughout that, just kind of that next play mentality, impose your will on everything that you do. And then obviously, won a few games in the process.
I think that just goes to show, I mean, you obviously have a unique story, but it's not totally dissimilar to, a lot of people that have played in sports, and how sports can frame and shape who you become as a person through challenges, adversity, not playing, working your way through that, crafting a coaching style, and then that helps shape who you become as a person. I don't know if it's a question, but I love that about sports.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's what sports is. So that's where I think we've lost a little bit of that in regards to society. It has gotten to be so much about winning, which obviously feel like I'm the most competitive person that I've met. I'm very competitive, and I want to win. I think when you make everything about winning, I think you lose the perspective of why sports is so important. You learn so many life lessons through trying to win and trying to reach a certain goal, and the adversity that it takes. And even, going to college, and your ego and your value as an athlete comes from you being a good athlete. And then you go there and you don't play as much as you like, and that really bruises your ego. And you realize how unimportant it is to just, you want to play, but how unimportant that part of it is. But the learning lesson that you get from not playing, and okay, I'm not playing as much as I like, but what can I do to help this team? And what value can I bring, and how can I serve everybody else, and just find ways to bring value other than just being a good athlete. And you learn a lot of that through athletics. And even when we go to, these games, and it's great to win these games, and that's what we're trying to do. But ultimately, when you watch those kids play, to me, that's the best indicator of how the world should be. Is there is a level of adversity. There's also a level of success. Some people don't always get what they want, but that doesn't mean they're not a part of a good society, essentially. And some people get more, but it's still all about serving each other and making each other's lives better. And I think our kids do that consistently.
Yeah. And I think that's why, while you were playing on ESPN, why so many people jumped on the bandwagon right then, because, it was tough defense and played hard, but played together. And it's these, quote unquote D2 dogs forming together to knock off a couple Power 4 programs and winning 3 games by double figures. But you did it by, working together, playing off of each other, supporting each other. And I'm excited for more and more opportunities for fans, not only in Des Moines, but throughout the country, to be able to continue to see that come out. And got another opportunity coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're excited about the opportunity. I know our Kansas City guys are, so that'll be fun. I'm just thankful that Kansas State, is going to play us, because a lot of the Power Fives won't play mid majors. They're not going to do it. They're going to look at your ratings, and they're going to play 300 and below. Yeah. And I understand why they would, because from a net perspective, you've got to beat teams consistently and beat them by a lot, and et cetera, et cetera. So I see why people would schedule the way they do, but we certainly appreciate Kansas State giving us the opportunity to play them.
Kind of going with that, a little digression from where we have been going, but that trend's probably going to continue. You see, some of the conversations about, the Charleston Classic splitting into a high major and mid major bracket. Other, tournaments probably going to follow suit. It's going to get even more difficult to schedule these type of games.
Yeah, it is, and that's the unfortunate part about having a quality program is at the mid-major level is you're not gonna get as many of them. So we'll keep trying to get them. Maybe we can bring that Iowa thing back.
Oh my gosh!
Right? What do we think of that?
I mean, that'd be incredible.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be good.
The Big Four Classic was a nice compromise. The best part was back when Iowa would come to the Knapp Center and Iowa State would come to the Knapp Center and go up to the McLeod Center, but I don't see it happening.
No, I don't either, but we're gonna try.
might be able to convince TJ.
Yeah.
That's probably the best bet.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll try to convince somebody.
I like it. Meet Wells Fargo Arena, or I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I like where your head's at, though. All right. So when it comes to continuing to evolve as a coach, is there anything right now that you're reading or practicing or anything like that or people that you're talking to within the coaching profession that helping you develop as a coach now?
Right now, it's really focused on the team.
Yeah, you're in the throes of it.
Yeah, I learn a lot from just the experiences, just daily experiences, whatever that may be, whether it's just interaction with my kids, with my wife, with with just anybody in the community or my players. And you just kind of learn little things from those experiences as long as you're paying attention. So, I think the things that I read right now probably don't necessarily apply to basketball per se. I think that some of the books, a lot of times I just reread the same books because they're really good. And so whether it's like Good to Great or Ego is the Enemy, making sure that your ego is in check, that kind of stuff. And then listen to an occasional podcast here or there.
I got Obstacle is the Way back there.
I'm
Ryan Holiday.
Big stoicism guy.
Okay.
So, control what you can control.
It's so cliche in a sense, but the stoicism is a cliche that has proven decade, millennium after millennium. There's a reason why it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we'll have our stoicism podcast at another time. No,
I better study beforehand.
No. All right, one of the things that you've brought up a couple of times throughout conversations in our post-game radio interviews, and just talking to coaches and on your staff, I think everybody is enjoying this process of you have expanded coaching staff, not only from D2 to D1, but the Division I coaching staff has expanded. They've changed the rules over the last couple of years. So, you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I utilize this person when it's not their scout? And, how can we make the best use of all this knowledge that we have in one room? And that was something you addressed after the Valpo game. It's like, hey, we're still a little bit trying to figure this thing out, and we're still 8-0 now 9-0. Mm-hmm. What are some of those challenges that you guys are running into, and how have you begin to work through that?
Yeah, I don't think we faced a ton of necessarily challenges. I think the challenges are, especially during a game, a lot of voices, just trying to itemize down the voice so that we can get a clean deal back to our team. Because a lot of them have, a lot of the staff, a couple of them have been head coaches, the others have been at different levels. And so they have a lot of good things to say. Now it's just about trying to streamline those things and figure out what actually needs to go to the team rather than, 10, 12, 15 things, right? And then trying to be on the same page with all those things. The big thing when we took over was, especially early on, trying to figure out what each staff member had a strength in, and then try to guide them towards what that strength may be. Like maybe they're a good recruiter, maybe they're good offensively, maybe they're good defensively, maybe they're a good organizer, whatever that may be. I try to be careful not to put people in a box early, meaning, hey, you're going to run this. Hey, you're going to run that. Hey, you're going to run that. I think too often when coaches do that, they say, okay, you're going to run the offense. Well, then they run the offense and the coach doesn't like the offense, and then they take the offense away from them. I think that's a bigger issue than, okay, I'm going to run a lot of this stuff. I'm going to show you what I like, and then we're going to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then we're going to guide you down that strength, and then you're going to eventually take that over so that I don't have to do it anymore. And because they bring something that I may not bring as a coach. Trying to navigate that, fortunately I have a really good staff that's very, very loyal, that's very understanding with that, where early on they're still trying to figure out, okay, what does he want offensively? What does he want defensively? And sometimes I do a really poor job of explaining that to staff. So I'll explain it to the players, and then they're like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit more. And then eventually, you evolve, and then you try to give it all away. And then, you're just kind of managing that perspective. But it takes some time. Fortunately, again, we got great staff that get along. We got truth tellers. That's a big thing. We have guys that will communicate. We have guys that will confront each other. And so there's no secrets in our program, which is really helpful.
And you got a group that I was talking to Jaron Richmond about this after the Valpo trip, just how you guys are so close. I mean, the conversations happening on the bus, yeah, there's some ribbing and, you're having some fun, but there's like far more depth to it than just, hey, how you guys doing? All right, let's put the headphones on and, let's just, waste this 5 hours on the bus or an hour on the bus or whatever it may be. How much has that helped kind of get to this point where you guys are just almost like blood brothers walking into this room together?
Yeah. And that's what it is, really. I mean, and it's, people always say that, but this is a very unique setting. And when we hired it, I have a good friend, Grant McCaslin, that, and he said, hire people that you want to do life with first. And that's what we did, is we tried to hire as many guys that I just like to be around on a daily basis. And it's similar to what we talked about with a good marriage is the best parenting you can give a child, right? And the same concept for coaching. A quality connected staff is the best thing you can do for a team. And when they see how connected we are, and it's not always just perfect though. Part of that is just like the truth telling piece of it. Like during the game, you'll see me and somebody else maybe yelling at each other, and it's not personal. It's hey, we're trying to solution find, and we're gonna get after each other, and no one's gonna be sensitive, and sometimes you have to solve problems like that. And this group allows for that because they're egoless. No one cares who gets any of the credit. And I've always understood that, I'm not that smart and I'm not that special. And you're only as special as the staff that you hired and the players that you recruit. And so we try to really do that consistently. But yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't. I come into my work and I've got other best friends outside of my coaching staff, but I get to work with my best friends. Like I get to go in there and just, like, how good a job is that?
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. So that's my job. I got my best friends, and then I go home to my best friend, and it's like, okay, well, this is a heck of a deal. So. And
you're in God's country doing it.
And I'm in God's country doing it, even though it's snowing and cold. My goodness, and I wear shorts and t-shirt every day. So hopefully we can get some warm weather again.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit.
Yeah,
it usually comes the week after the Drake relays.
There you go.
Usually that first week of May. So that you got that to look forward to. You also have a trip to Kansas City to look forward to as we kind of turn our attention to that game. Heading down to KC, half of the roster is from the Metro. You guys have recruited well there in previous years. What does this game mean to you guys outside the fact of getting the opportunity to play a Power 4 program?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City's always been good to us just from
you're just down the street from Municipal.
Yeah, just from right across the street. Yeah, I can see. I'll probably be able to see it from my hotel, just like in the conference tournaments. So no, we recruited Kansas City heavy. It's an underrated city in regards to just basketball like ability, and honestly, the high school coaching there is really good. Some of the best high school coaches, I think, in the country. I mean, they're fantastic coaches, and so we just got in there. I had a former assistant, Austin Meyer, who was from Kansas City. He got us in there. We've worked it. We've treated people very, very well that come to our program from Kansas City. And so then you're able to attract more Kansas City kids. My kids grew up playing in Kansas City at the Hy-Vee Arena and different field houses down there. And so we've been down there a lot. And so we love it down there. I haven't played in T-Mobile. Matter of fact, I don't think I've ever even been in T-Mobile. So we're excited about the opportunity to play.
Are you all staying at the same hotel that you typically do for the?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, we got good memories there.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. No, there's a pep rally from 4 to 6 at no other pub in the Power and Light District. So fans that are coming down have a cool opportunity to kind of enjoy that. Power and Light for Valley fans is much like Ballpark Village in St. Louis. Ballpark Village was built first, right outside of Busch Stadium. Then they built a couple of years later, built Power and Light. So maybe it's a bias. It probably is a bias, but I think Power and Light is a little bit better than Ballpark Village, and it's a pretty good setup.
It's easier to get to.
Yeah,
it's easier to get to, and it's a really a safe area. I mean, it's not there safe there, but like it's a really nice setting.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun, and then you just walk. I mean, it's right across the street to T-Mobile, so it's fun.
And what's your ticket allotment like? Has Bennett Sturtz taken all of them?
No. Good question. Jaron handles that. So I've probably had some requests to be able to get into the game, and so you have to just figure out which ones you're going to give out and which ones they're probably going to have to purchase, because I'm sure I've heard it gets pretty packed. I've heard the K-State fans really show out for this game, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know they're doing a stripe out. We bought some tickets there, and so now we're just getting flooded with K-State promo tickets and promotional items for that weekend. And they're trying to do a purple-white stripe out, but we're going to have a row of all blue right in the middle of their purple. So
I think you do it right in the white. See if we can
find
a way to move it to the white. That would be
ideal.
Yes.
Or have them wear white and the purple, just totally screwed up.
Yeah, or do you have to do baby blue? Maybe the baby blue. I don't know. We'll have to do something.
You can't go wrong with the baby blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go wrong there. Okay. One of the things kind of with, kind of wondering about the crowd, wonder how K-State fans are going to respond. This is just me personally, not speaking for you, how they'll respond to their team that looks susceptible this season. They already have a couple losses, including a loss to Liberty. And if you look at common opponents, FAU beat Liberty, you all beat FAU, Liberty beat Kansas State. So transitive property, you think, hey, got a shot. Transitive property does not count on Tuesday, though.
No.
What do you see about K-State this season?
I mean, they're obviously really well coached. They've got an elite level of talent. And sometimes when you get that much talent and you have a lot of transfers, it takes you a little time to figure yourself out. So they're still in the process of figuring themselves out. But, part of what I've noticed at this level, because of the transfers, you'll have games where somebody may win by 20 and then they'll play a worse team and they'll get beat by 10. And part of it is those guys aren't used to the habits of being ready on a daily basis. They're getting there. I mean, they're getting better. You can tell they're trying to figure out their team. and they've got plenty of talent. They've got an excellent coaching staff. And so we'll have our hands full. They'll be one of the best teams that we've played this season.
Yeah, you got Coleman Hawkins, transfer from Illinois, who is 7 foot. He can play in the post, but he can also shoot off the dribble from outside. He's quite the talent. Going to be playing in the NBA someday. All right, Coach. I really appreciate your time. What does the weekend look like for you leading up to this K-State game?
I got a big game tonight for Waukee Northwest.
All right.
Yep, and then we've got a youth girls basketball tournament this weekend that we're excited about. So my wife will have to go in the morning because we have practice, and then we'll have to go at night. We got the night schedule, so she goes at like 10, and then like 5 and 8 for youth girls basketball. So, and then got a little more of that Sunday. So that's what my weekends entail.
Ball is life.
That's exactly what it is.
Coach, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. That's Ben McCollum on the Hometown Hoops podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday at noon. We'll also chat to you from the T-Mobile Center in downtown Kansas City. Pregame radio show starts at 6:30 on 102.1 FM and 1350 ESPN Des Moines. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great weekend.